Welcome to this episode of Meet the Artist at Framestore. My name is Ben Kusol, and in this episode I'll be speaking with Shuchi Singhal, an amazingly talented creature and lead animator at Framestore Vancouver. Shuchi's animation journey turned into a bit of a catapult when she joined Rythm and Hues in Mumbai. Since then, she's worked at some of the biggest studios on some of the biggest projects, including Life of Pi, Alvin and the Chipmunks 2, 3, and 4, Junglebook, Mowgli, Guardians of the Galaxy, Fantastic Beasts, Crimes of Grindelwald, and many, many more. Sorry, I got a bit distracted by the new puppy. I had a great time speaking with Shuchi. She's an insightful, knowledgeable, and generous artist, and I'm sure you'll enjoy her company as well. So here she is, Shuchi Singhal.
You are proof that there are fools. Fools, 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 fools. Fools!
I mean, it's with every studio. Everybody was looking for like people right now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's hard.
It's a good time to be an animator.
True.
So when you said we, is it your partner is also in?
Yeah, my partner. We are both in the same industry. Like he's in the lighting department.
Oh, okay.
And he's also working with Framestore itself.
Nice.
So yeah.
Did you meet him in Vancouver, or is it?
No. We have been together like for more than like I think 15 years.
Oh, wow.
Like we met during our studies, like when we were studying animation.
Right.
So that is funny. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask about that because that's so interesting. So because from looking at your LinkedIn profile, you studied. It didn't look like you were studying animation specifically.
No,
it was more like
no.
a class. Like what was it? Was it graphics or?
So the thing was like I had no clue about animation field when I started off for college. I always wanted to go into the creative field. Like it was more like an art field for me. So I knew that I wanted to pursue my Bachelor of Fine Arts. And I had no clue about like we could have like animation as a career choice or as animation to study. And we didn't had any lot of opportunities. Like a lot of education system was not there like around animation that time. So I was doing my art degree like from New Delhi, and then I think it was in third year of my college. Like I got to know about this 3D kind of thing, and then again I did not know about animation. I just got to know about 3D like 3ds Max as a software. So like it was funny, like one of my colleague, like a batchmate, he did an assignment for a print media, like a commercial. And I just asked him like, how did he do it? Because we were just doing Photoshop and everything. And he did something like which was 3D. And it was very intriguing. And I asked him and he told me like, okay, this is this institute which just teaches the software. Like, or this is like something 3ds Max is there. And like you can check out or you can inquire about it. So that made me very interested in like just exploring the field apart from my like graphic, what I was doing in the college. So I inquired about it, and it seemed interesting. But again, they didn't have like a proper animation course. So they were teaching like a software. It was more like, okay, you learn. So I did like, you learn like modeling, texturing, lighting, rigging, basically every aspect of 3D.
Yeah.
So that was the whole program. And it was apart from my college degree. So I was spending time doing my college. And then like together I was doing like this course, which was like on the side. And like it was more like a summer vacation thing, which I started. And that was where I started in my hometown. Like the institute had like a branch in my hometown. So I started there, and that's where I met my partner.
Oh.
So we were the first batch in that institute to start off with the course. And then eventually I moved to where I was studying, like where I was doing my college. So to continue the course, I then transferred my course over there. And then I studied over there.
Okay. So the animation was something, it started like as a side, like as a you know, like just something sparkly you saw, and then you
exactly.
But,
yeah, because no, go ahead.
okay, so were you able to switch your kind of like your major, or did you have to finish your degree and then pursue animation after, or?
Oh, I have to finish my degree because that was totally separate. Like it was like a
Okay.
college degree. I had to finish my bachelor's. I have to do my assignments for whatever I was doing
Mm.
because I realized like in one of the years I did an internship in like some agency, like advertising agency, and realized this is not my cup of tea. Like I didn't like
Oh.
doing all that marketing stuff and all. And I was happy that I learned this software thing and the 3D and everything was going fine. It was hard to explain it to my parents that what I'm doing. And they thought like, okay, doing a degree is like good enough. You should focus on that and you should not spend time on doing something which is like it's just a course, like it's not even gonna get you like an educational certificate also, right? Like so
Yeah.
it was just very difficult that time. But yeah, I managed to do both of things by the time I ended my college. So by
Mm.
the time I finished my degree, I also did a like I finished this course which I was doing, and which ended up like we did an assignment like for like our entire course what I did for that institute, and we did like a short film kind of thing with a team and submitted somewhere an entry and all that. So
Yeah.
it was a nice process to learn every aspect of it. But to be honest, like that time nobody knew animation. Like I
Yeah.
had no concept of principles of animation. I had no concept of gravity. I had no concept of timing, nothing. Like so it was more like, okay, you can move one thing from here to there.
Yeah.
That's it. That was all the points. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was just learning the software mostly.
Mm. And then that so because what year was this?
Uh, this was 2003.
Mm.
2007, I completed my college and my course.
Mm.
So
And
that was together.
yeah, and then I guess at the time, because it's funny how in a way similar it is, because my experience in Denmark getting into animation was also like I was studying engineering, and my parents were really happy.
Yeah.
And then I found out about this drawing school, and then I got hooked. And then but they had like a 4-year program to become an animator, but
Right.
you were just
Yeah.
introduced to a computer basically, and you had to how do you go from, so you learned the software, and how do you stumble into the Rhythm and Hues? That seems like
Yeah,
crazy.
it's a big jump, I know. So what happened was like in our institute, like there were some seniors which they were doing animation. So I would talk to them, and there were some ex people who had already like gone to some studios, or somehow I got connected with them
Hmm.
and they helped me out. Like we were supposed to actually get some placements as well, like from the institute. Like that was their selling point. Okay, once you finish your course, we'll place you in a studio or something like that.
Wow.
That never happened. Like to be honest,
That's a big
like
promise.
yeah, that was a big promise that never happened. And they told, and so I did, like I just give, like I think one of the studios, it was the Technicolor now. It used to be Paprika's at that time. Like it was
Hmm.
named Paprika's. So
Okay.
they had this placement test. I gave the test, and funny enough, I did not get through, but all my batchmates, like few of my friends got through, and it was very disappointing for me.
Oh.
But since the institute was selling, like, okay, we'll place you somewhere. So, like one of the guys, like the owner or somebody, like he said, okay, he's opening up some incubation to develop an app or something for animation, like a GIF kind of stuff, like some small e-greetings kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that, okay, fine, like I'll do it, like for the time being, like just to start off with something. It was a good opportunity just because we were doing a generalist work, like we were doing like everything, like
Hmm.
from like concept designing, character design, modeling and rigging, everything, since we learned everything in the institute. So we did that, like I did that, like I think for three months or something. And then one day I was like, oh, this is not something I want to do, so I just left.
Okay.
And one of my one of my ex batchmate, like ex like senior in the institute, he recommended me to RNH. So he said, okay, RNH, they were doing like this apprenticeship kind of programs. What they used to do was like, they have this like 2 months training program where they will hire people like for the course, and they'll train them for 2 months. Like they'll teach animation in the studio. They'll pay like a stipend kind of thing, like very less, very minimal,
Yeah.
like something. But then if you're good, then they'll hire you like for a like proper employee kind of thing. So I said, okay, yeah, that sounds interesting. So I applied, and they had a very thorough way of going through like the test and everything. They'll send you like they used to send like this home test. So which was like you have to animate 3 balls falling from the wall just to show weight.
Right,
So it
right.
used to be balloon, cannonball, or something like just to show difference in weight.
Yeah.
And I still remember I bought this balloon. I tied it up and in my room I was just throwing it like from the wall just to see how it's happening. Because I learned, I think animation that time for me, I was like watching some clips and I was just copying them. That's how I think I just got a bit sense of timing, but I didn't have like a proper like a base for it. Like so I was just somehow I got the test done. I did the test. I sent it to them, but I did not get any response. Like for 5 months, 6 months, I had no response. They didn't even reply to my mails. And then I thought, okay, maybe it's not for me. It's not working out and all. So I just went to my parents' house. Like I left everything and I just went and I was like, I'll see what happens. And after 6 months or something, they contacted me again saying, are you still interested? I was like, sure, why not? I am still interested. But they said, we lost your test, so can you do it again?
Oh.
Okay. And the funny thing was, even I lost my test. Like my files were corrupted and everything. So I had to do it again. I sent it again, and they replied and they said like, okay, can you come down to the studio to give a test? Like because they have like this in-studio test, then you do an interview and everything. So that went pretty well. Like they had this 2 days test. They make you do the same thing in the studio, and they have a mentor for you, like a buddy, just to guide you and all, like with the software. So I did that, and like then I got a call, like, okay, so this is the joining, and we'll be doing an apprenticeship program. Will you be interested? Like, yeah, sure, of course. So I just left everything and I left, and I went there for so I started off in the apprenticeship program, and like it went through from there.
Oh, wow. And so when you came home with a balloon and a bowling ball and whatever, and how were you, did you have to kind of convince your parents that this was a good idea to...
The good thing was they did not know anything about this, because at this time I was still not in my hometown. Like I was still I was doing that job, like the first kind of job where we were creating GIFs. So during that time I gave this test, and I was living in a hostel, in my college hostel that time. Like I just extended my stay. So I was alone in my room just throwing the balloon. So they did not know anything about it.
Oh, that was probably good.
Yeah.
And I'm curious because up until that point, it seemed like you had been doing, like you said, you had been more of a generalist role. What was it about animation that caught you?
I think it was about the movement. Like it was about like, like you can think of something and you can just make it happen. Like and it's not a still image. It's like a moving image. I think that's what attracted me to it. And I still remember, like, we didn't had a lot of exposure, like as such, like with the schools, like, or internet, like, or anything like that. So whatever data we were getting was from the institute, and they had this database with all the animation clips from Animation Mentor and stuff like that. So watching that and like just going frame by frame and studying like how it's happening. I literally traced like animation to study like how it's happening, how do they jump from one pole to another, and so that was very I think it's fascinating for me. That made me go into this.
Yeah, well, it sounds very familiar, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate. There is something about when it comes to life and you're part of that process. Exactly. It's pretty magical, especially in the beginning.
Especially when you're just starting with bouncing balls, that itself is like very fascinating.
Yeah, definitely. And then you had you kind of basically grew up animation wise at Rythm and Hues, which
Yeah,
is almost like one of those mythical studios now, kind of like like what Blue Sky is becoming. It's like they
right.
had this amazing run, and then everything just stopped, and nobody
Yeah, that
really.
was,
Yeah,
yeah, it was a shock.
yeah, I bet.
That's true.
Yeah, but while you were there, so did that very strong learning curve they started with the 2 months of basically schooling. Did that culture continue throughout your time there? Did you have a lot of mentorship and support?
Yeah, I think we were very lucky. Like our mentor, like for our batch, he did. He was in the RNH LA, and he had came down to India to take this program.
Mm,
And he himself was like an animation mentor student. So he had done that entire course, and like for us, he designed the same course.
mm,
So for us, we were just getting like the same animation mentor quality, like teaching, like, and it was very, very helpful. Like that was
yeah.
the first time I knew about like 12 principles of animation, like blocking, what is lining, and what is like the stages of animation and everything.
Yeah.
So that was very, very nice. And with RNH, they actually spend a lot of time in training people in India. Like they used to continue the course. I spent 5 years there, and I think in front of me there were 3, 4 batches like me, which went through it. Like so, every year they'll go through that program,
Wow.
and that was very nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
because we didn't have any good education system in India for the animation course, and I think they were doing really great, like with that. Plus, the work environment and the work culture was like amazing. Like I
Mm.
used to tell my friends, and they're like, "You are just living in a different world, right? This doesn't exist anywhere else." I was like, "Okay, maybe."
What were the main difference from working at Rhythm and Hues compared to what your friends were doing? Like,
So, for example, like my partner whom I met, like he actually started in a place called Technicolor, like which was Paprika's that time. So
mm,
he was also in the same boat as mine. But for him, it was the working hours were like crazy. Like he was
yeah.
working like from 9 to probably 9 or 10,
Phew.
for instance, and I was like working from 8:30 to 5:30. And at 5:30, my coordinator would be like, "Okay, you need to go, you can't stay." I was like, "Okay, that's pretty cool."
Yeah.
And they were really nice to you. Like they will never force you, like pressurize you for anything or your targets or your task. Or they were very friendly. But
Mm.
it's not the same. Generally, it's not the same like in other studios.
No, no, and yeah, it sounds. I had my first break in London, and that could be a rough environment too, in terms of you work late and you don't
Yeah.
always get paid. Uh,
Nope.
do you know how the culture is now in India?
Uh, I I'm not pretty sure, but yeah, I'm not heard like something really great so far.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's still more or less the same because we don't have overtime paid in India. Like it's still not a thing.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, and also like I think since our work is always for like Indian studios are always working for outside, like projects like for instance like I don't want to mention names, but
No, no.
like if there's a studio here and it's the same branch in India, it's not the same work culture for sure.
Mm,
Like it's like a very different because I worked in MPC Bangalore and I worked in MPC Montreal and it was very different,
mm.
I would say. But with Rhythm and Hues, I felt like we did not see any difference at all. People will come from LA to India and they'll say like, okay, this is exactly how it is supposed to be. So they
Oh,
really maintain those standards.
wow.
So that made a huge difference, I think. That was
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's a big thing because they didn't have to legally, right? So
No,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's cool. And you eventually worked your way into a leadership position. Oh, well, into a lead animator, right?
Yeah, that happened very fast and that happened very shockingly for me. Like so with Rhythm and Hues, like I like what they did, like for 1 year, like we were not on any production. So for 1 year, they just trained you like into like they build you for they build some training course, they build exercises. Like for example, like so since they were doing a lot of semi-realistic animation, like Alvin and the Chipmunks, they'll build some exercises based on those. And then since they were doing realistic animation as well, so they'll build some just few clips to get you familiar with the mechanics and the everything. So for 1 year, we were thoroughly trained with quadrupeds, with the
Wow.
with all the like cartoony stuff like Alvin, and we were doing some mock shots as well, like from film production. So those things really help, like to learn the basics and to train your eye, to train your hand to do those kind of, especially when you don't know anything. So they spend good deal of time doing that, and after that, like they put you like they on a show which you actually got familiar with the characters. So my first show in Rhythm and Hues was Alvin 2. I think Alvin the Squeakquel. Yeah, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
But but I was already familiar with the characters, and it was a nice show to start with. And I'm very thankful to my mentor over there. Like he helped a lot. Like he really helped a lot. Even though he went back to LA, he'll just keep in touch. Like he'll ask, like, how is it going? And it was very nice of him. He gave me a lot of tips and tricks, like about the feedback, like what they're saying, what your supervisor says, and what he actually means.
Yeah.
So those things were really helpful. Like I think those tips and tricks were really helpful.
What was there? I'm curious about that. Was that because the supervisor was in LA, and it was not always easy to understand what they meant or what they wanted, or
Yeah, like it's like a way of saying, like when you're because the work culture is like that, you cannot be like too direct, right?
no,
So they have to like quote it like in a certain way. So like since it was very new for me, like all the feedback and everything. So like for instance, like let's say if the supervisor is asking you, okay, at this frame, just change this.
yeah.
So that doesn't mean you just change that. You have to change the surrounding stuff as well. But you never know about this, right? Like, let's say if it's your first production, who is going to tell you, okay, I'll just do that frame. But my mentor, like, he told me, like, okay, this doesn't mean like you just change that. You have to make sure that surrounding things works as well. So those kind of things, like, you can't ask your supervisor, okay, do you mean this?
No, yeah. No, they're. But it's also like I wanted to ask you that as well, because especially when it's all so new to you, that first production must have been. Were you a little bit scared, or was it intimidating? Because I remember being very intimidated by my first production.
It was intimidating. I'll say, like, because you want to prove yourself for sure.
Yeah.
Like you were given a shot and you want to make sure like you're doing your best, and so that you can get more work, or you can at least be like known for it or something.
Yeah.
But I have a very good team. Like my colleagues were so friendly. My colleagues were like all very supportive as well. So I could ask, like we had that kind of culture. You could just poke your buddy and like, how does this look like?
Nice.
Can I just make it work? And so that was very nice. That helped me a lot to like work through my way. And I think I was very lucky with the shots I got, because like my first shot, I still remember, it's like I don't know if you know about there's a dance shot with three chipmunks, like the female chipmunks, they're dancing on the stage, and it was like an introductory song for them. So that was my first shot. It was not a background shot or anything. So that I wanted to do like a really good job with that, and it was a trailer shot as well. So it just went around a lot, like, but yeah, it came out well. And like luckily I had like all the good. Actually, I didn't have any background shots in my first show, so that was like kind of nice.
Wow.
Yeah, and yeah, but there were times like when you have like overlapping shots, and the deadlines are there, and they want you to focus on one shot, or like, but since it's your first show, you always feel like maybe I'm not doing enough, and like maybe I need to push myself more, or so that was always there at the back of your head, like you want to do like your best. But there were times like I still remember like my lead came to me and he's like, Shuchi, I'm gonna assign one of your shots to this guy because you want to focus on that one. And I like, okay, but that does that mean I'm not doing enough? I remember like it was like in the evening, we were in the crunch, and I went to the washroom and I just cried for a little bit. I was like, okay,
Oh.
yeah, maybe. But it's always happens, like, yeah, right? Like, so for sure, you're always very, very scared. Like, you just don't want to mess up at all. But I think it's just the nature of production. Like,
Yeah.
you learn that eventually, but in the starting, yeah, it is very intimidating, like, just to get through everything
Yeah.
done. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned feedback before. I remember the same with feedback. It was sometimes you got so it could be nerve-wracking taking feedback because it made you feel like you couldn't do anything wrong or you couldn't do anything right, but they're really just saying what is not good. You
Yeah,
have to remind
exactly.
yourself, okay, they actually like the rest of it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a lot to
Yeah,
learn.
it was scary times, and for us it was even scary because like I knew like sometimes your supervisors or leads in LA will open your file just to see if what is not working.
I hate
So
that.
that was
Oh.
it has to work well in 360 degree. Like you can't just look for the camera. That was another thing. They'll just pinpoint it because there was a huge time difference. Like it was a morning and a night thing. So let's say you just finish your shot, you send it, and in the morning we'll have dailies like with the supervisors in LA. But they had already time before that, so they might have opened up your file just to see what's happening. And yeah, that was a scary situation.
Yeah, it's like they walk into your bedroom and take out everything and just
Yeah. But I think that helped a lot too, because
Yeah.
then you understand, okay, like why it's not working, because this is not working from this angle. So you
Yeah.
have to make sure that it works from 360 degree.
Yeah. Well, it seemed like you had a very solid upbringing there.
Yeah,
So
true.
but you said it came early with the lead position, or
Actually, so I
what
think
did
after two or three shows, like they asked me to do like a shadowing the lead for one of the Alvin shows, like the third part of the Alvin. So they asked like you should do like a shadow your lead and see how it goes. So that was nice to learn like how things are working out and everything. Just to attend the dailies, how to talk to your supervisors, how to talk to your team and all that stuff, like how to give feedback. Those things are it was nice to do that part, like just shadowing around. And yeah, it was nice. And then suddenly when like on Life of Fire, they asked like, so okay, you're gonna be a lead on this team. Like, are you sure? That's too quick. That's like that was like I think in my third or fourth year, third
Yeah.
year end almost. They
Yeah.
asked like, okay, we want to put you on this show as a lead, like on one of the team. We have two teams and one team. But the good thing was it was a very small team, like, and I was very familiar with all the people I was working with. So that was like a kind of a comfort zone for me. But still, like, yeah, it was a big deal. Like, I was not hoping for that.
Well, and what sequence or what part were you leading?
So there's a part on Life of, like there's one title sequence which we did, like which is just comes in the credits, like the first title sequence. So there was a lot of zoo animals we were doing, and then with the tiger we did the sequence where he's on the boat, and like he's training him. Pai is training him, and there were some shots which were like real, like actual tiger, and there were some shots which were CG. Oh,
I lost your camera.
Okay. Yeah. Hello.
Oh, you're back. You made it. I thought I
I'm
lost
so
you.
sorry.
No.
Yeah, it's just like I'm sitting in my partner's room, and I had no idea about how this is all working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all right. Are you both working from home?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's the same here. I feel like we're just I'm a little bit on top of my girlfriend all the time.
Yeah, it gets pretty annoying. Like, that's why we can't work in the same room for sure. Like, because like for me, like I always used to have like more meetings compared to him, so it
right.
just gets very annoying for him. Like,
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'm glad you made it back.
Yeah.
Um, it was interesting because I had a little break here, and I was just looking at all the work you did, and on Alvin and all the Chipmunks, and Hop and Yogi Bear, and then uh, Percy Jackson 2 and Life of Pi. It's like a whole range of very
Yeah.
cartoony stuff, and then very realistic stuff, and like you were just talking about the tiger in Life of Pi, and
Right.
I remember watching that, and it was about the time I graduated in 2011, I think, or late 2010. And it was one of those films I remember watching Life of Pi where I was just sitting like, oh, I want to do that, and it's so cool that you worked on it. It must have been an incredible experience.
It was in the school, but and you laugh because when they told me I have to work on this show, I had no clue about this show, and
Mm.
I wanted to go on some another show, which was Snow White and the Huntsman at the same time,
Oh, I'm glad you didn't do
and yeah,
that.
because I was more into the fantasy stuff. So I was like, yeah, why can't you just put me on this show? Like, no, no, we need you on this show. I think you'll be good on this show. Like, okay, fine. So for 3, 4 months, I did not know how big the show is. Life of
Mm.
Pi. I was just working, we were doing like dev shots and everything, but I had no idea like how big the show is or how important the show is, like who is like the director or anything like that. But by the end, I think we realized, okay, this is like on some next level because we spent 3 months doing just the toes and nails of the tiger.
Oh
That
wow.
that was something, yeah, and it was crazy. And they omitted that sequence from the movie. It was not there.
Yeah.
And funny part is, I didn't even know that they omitted the sequence. It was like when we went to the screening, and then I was just waiting for it. Like,
Oh
I think it's gonna
no.
come now, and it never came.
Oh.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
but they released it in the, I think later on they released it in the editor's cut or something like that in the DVD. So I had
Hmm.
few shots, but yeah,
Wow.
but it was very interesting, and
Yeah. That's the harsh reality of film and
yeah.
visual effects at times.
That's true. Yeah, it is, and it's still happening. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's like okay. So nothing has changed.
Yeah, sometimes they cut it, and sometimes they just put a big explosion in front of it, or
Yep,
clouds.
that's it.
Yeah, yeah. So, did you feel like over the course of Life of Pi, because that was a big project, that must have taken what a year and a half or something?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we spent like that was the biggest project for me. Like I think we spent like because in India it started late. They did all the asset development and everything in LA, and
Mm.
only when the production was almost there, that the development was almost done, and then they started giving us the sequences and everything. So we spent around 1 year or something on the show, and I had a team of like 4 people, so it was very easy for me.
Mm.
But we had some really cool shots, and it was interesting. Like our anim director was amazing. Like Eric, he was really good, and like he would send personal emails sometimes. Okay, this shot is combed, it's final, it's looking amazing. It's like okay, that's great.
Yeah.
So that those things are encouraging, I think, to like just keep going. So that helps a lot.
Mm.
And yeah, it was a very life-turning show for RNH and like generally as for the entire team, I think.
Yeah. And did you feel like you grow into the lead role? Because you said at first you weren't fully ready, or you weren't comfortable at first.
Yeah, I think once you start doing it, you just like when people keep asking you questions, you want to figure out stuff, right? Like, okay,
Mm.
I don't want to lose face, so I'll figure out something, and then you start growing into that role eventually. And having a supportive team helps a lot. Like even though like we were almost like colleagues, and some of the artists was like very senior to me, but they were so cooperative, they were so supportive, and
Mm.
that helps a lot for you to grow, for them also to understand, okay, she's also doing for the first time. So it was just a combined effect, I think, and that worked well for me.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it was a great environment. And
Yeah.
and then what? Well, I'm still not sure exactly how it all happened, because it felt like it's like one day the supervisors and the directors were receiving Oscars, and then the next day, oh, they're closing, and you all had to find work elsewhere. That must have been so chaotic for you guys.
It was like they were very transparent with us, like most of the time. So that, like, they'll do all these meetings and they'll tell us what's happening with financially with the company and everything. I think what happened was there was a huge pause in one of the shows, like what they had. So it was on hold like for 3-4 months, but they did not let go of people and they kept on retaining. And I think it happened 2 or 3 shows. And because of that, something did not work out, and because of the scheduling did not work out. I honestly don't know. Like suddenly it was like we were doing, after winning the Oscars, we were doing all these interviews in the studio. At the same time, there was this environment like, okay, this is gonna shut down. So it was very mixed feelings, and it was not like it was being taken over by Prana. So that was like the news we got. I think I was one of the lucky ones who left the studio before the end was reaching, because like a lot of my colleagues, they stayed till the end and through the transition period when Pranas took over, and it was not a very nice experience for them. Like it was very tragic. Yeah, it was very sad to see it like literally going under, and it was such a nice place to work, and we lost everything in that. Yeah. But that was the first time I think writing a resignation mail over there felt so bad.
Yeah.
Like, I told my manager, I know it's not the right timing for me to switch jobs, and you must be feeling like, okay, I'm leaving at this time, but it's just personal reasons, and I just had to go. That was it just the timing was like that. So.
And you moved to MPC Bangalore, right?
Yeah, so that time I'm MPC Bangalore, they were just starting out animation department, and they were recruiting like their first team. So and my partner was in Bangalore that time, so and our long distance was not working very well. So like, yeah, sure, we'll give it a try. And so I moved to Bangalore. Yeah, I moved to MPC for like 2 years, and that was not a nice experience as such.
It's I know a lot of really good people who is at MPC or who has been, and but I've also heard the same stories as everyone else. So, well,
I think for me it was more like since it was the starting of the team there, they did not trust much, like giving a lot of work to India. So that was, and I think and it's totally fair, because you just like you don't know anybody. How do you give like the work? So you have to build that team. So that took some time, and I think by the end, like we were getting some really cool shows. Like I worked on Junglebook over there in MPC, and it was very nice. Like we were getting some really cool sequences and shots, and it was great to work on that. So eventually it worked out fine, but initially it was not, because we were all hired like as a seniors, and you were just waiting for the work to be sent over, and that was like a kind of frustrating for us.
You also came from a studio where there was a lot of trust in you and a lot of really cool work.
So it was a big change. It was a very big change.
Yeah, and then I'm curious, because the next place you went is Weta, I think, and so both you and your partner got jobs there, right? Otherwise, the long distance kind of must have been.
Yeah, so that is another thing. So what happened was my first mentor, like I had to mention his name, Andrew. He like the one who took our mentorship in
what was his full name?
Andrew Park.
Okay.
So he actually went to Weta, and one day he just messaged, like he mailed me, okay, there's a really cool project coming here, and I think you will be perfect. You will be good for that. He didn't tell me the project or anything, and he said, will you be interested? I was like, yeah, of course, why not? So, but that time I was working on Junglebook, and it was a really good show for me. I in the end, I got to lead the team as well.
Oh, wow.
So it was working well for me. So it was very dicey situation, because at one point I wanted to finish the show in MPC because it was going well and everything. But at the same time, like I got this opportunity from Weta. And later he told me it's for Alvin 4 and they're really looking for people. So,
More
that
chipmunks.
changed. Yeah, exactly. So that changed everything. I was like, okay, but it's still better. So I talked to a lot of my colleagues, like they also went and they were saying like, I think you should just do it. Like it's fine and it will be fine. So I said, okay. So I got this interview from Veda and it was more like a talk because I already had like an Alvin reel and Andrew has given me like a good reference and everything. So it worked out well. I got the job. My husband did not go. Luckily, he was doing freelance at that time.
Okay.
So it worked out well for us. So he could just take his laptop and he could move with me.
Ah,
And
nice.
so we wrapped up everything in India and it was very sudden. And we moved like to the other corner. We did not even know where New Zealand is. Like I was
Yeah.
telling my father, like he's like, okay, that's so far. Like, and that time in India, we did ever had a contract, this thing in India. So it was always like a permanent job, right? And like my father told me, are you sure you want to do this? Like leaving a permanent job, going for a 5 months contract. It's like, yeah, but it's better.
It's better.
And I knew that it will just help like for future, like just to open the gates like for all the jobs. And that's what Andrew told me too. Like, I just want you to come out, like, so just to explore, just to see how it is.
Yeah.
So we went and we did like crazy. I did like crazy amount of overtime.
Yeah.
I actually joined in the crunch. They were already doing like 60 hours a week. And so I joined in the crunch and it eventually went to 80, it went to 90. So, and yeah, it was a lot of work, but again, like since everybody was working in the studio, it was kind of fun at the same time. And it was like lot of hard work and going and everything. But personally, it was not working out for us because it can get really lonely in Wellington. Like it's very small town, it's very small place. So when they offered me like an extension, like me and my husband decided like, okay, no, this is not gonna happen because there are not many studios in Wellington. If Veta is not hiring, then you don't have any other options or opportunities to go.
Yeah.
And after Alvin, I actually worked on BFG for 2 months over there. And that was not a fun experience for me
Okay.
because it was like I never did mocap before. I never did like all that realistic facial animation before. And this time they wanted like, so they had this tracking faces like, and they wanted you to copy everything, like each and every tracker.
Oof.
And
Yeah.
I would just strain my eyes trying to copy everything. And they're very particular, okay? So you have to move particular control, like muscle, and I did not enjoy that part. I think it was not my thing.
Yeah.
So and anyways, it was not working out for us as well, like personally. So we decided like, okay, we'll try for Canada because there are a lot of studios there. There's a lot of opportunities. And like we talked to Veda as well, like if you're gonna happen, like lighting department opportunities, let us know, like we'll like to come back. But they were not, it was not there at that time, so it did not work out for us. And we kind of left from there.
Yeah.
But we were applying for Canada from there because I think that time Canada was like too much in focus with all the studios coming up and a lot of work was there. And we could see, okay, there is NPC, there is DNEG, there is Framestore. So you could see multiple options. Like let's say one studio is not hiring, you always have the opportunity on the other.
Yeah.
So.
But I believe you went to Montreal first, right?
Yeah, actually we were looking to come to Vancouver first. And that did not work out as well because we were talking to MTC and they kept on talking and then for Vancouver. And then one day they said, yeah, that's not working out. Will you guys be interested in Montreal?
Yeah.
Like, sure, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that happened. Actually, I wanted to apply for Framestore like from the beginning. Like even before NPC, I tried for Framestore, but that time it was not working out with the work permits and everything. So I was kind of happy that we are going to Montreal because I always wanted to switch to Framestore at some point.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's nice that you eventually managed to do it.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. That.
Yeah, it's like you have to with these permit, you have to find a gap where it's just kind of like, yeah, I was in a similar thing. You just have to figure out when it works, and then and then go for it.
Yeah, just jump. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, leaving like at that time I was like when I was leaving New Zealand like and Veta because I had a contract for 1 year in my hand and
Mm,
it was for apes and I think it was a very hard decision like for me because
yeah.
apes like you would have been like yeah sure like it would have been really nice
Mm,
but I think we did the right thing when we moved to Canada. It worked out for both of us and it's pretty cool. Like I like with the job, like even the work, I felt like over here, what the scope of work we were getting to work on, it
mm,
was pretty good compared to what we would have done. I would have done in Veta probably
yeah.
that
So
time.
yeah. So I'm curious because it makes sense ending up at Framestore because when I started in London at DNEG and Framestore always got all the cool creature shots, the creature shows, and so they were
Yeah.
always like that creature house, and it seems like Rythm and Hues were as well. So is that still the which projects did you work on at Framestore so far?
So Framestore, I did like worked on Paddington 2. I worked on Mowgli,
Mm.
like Total Timmy Failure. I don't know if the Anders, the one with Anders, I worked on.
Oh right,
There was
yeah.
a polar bear movie, and then His
Mm.
Dark Materials. That was another show which I worked on. So it's all creature. Like
Nice.
Fantastic Beasts 2, like this. I just finished Fantastic Beasts 3, working on Fantastic Beasts 3.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it's all creature work. So
Yeah.
that was always in my this thing job description. Whenever I was asking for a show, I'll always tell my HOD, okay, I don't want to work on mocap show. If you can give me a feature show,
Yeah.
that will be great.
Yeah, yeah. It can be a tough one, the motion capture, because it can, like you said, it can be so particular that it can be hard to cope with and still maintain some kind of creativity. Whereas creature work, you get to play more and you get to try more stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm.
And I think now I'm getting familiar with motion capture a little bit, and I'm not against it. It's
No.
just, yeah, it's just, it's a nice technology for
Yeah.
to make your work easier for
Yeah.
sure. Like especially with bipeds, I think it's the best. Like I don't want to waste my time doing all those tiny details. If it's there,
No.
let's use it. Why not?
Sure.
But for creature animation, it just helps you use your brain a little bit. That's what I like. Like you just think a little bit more. Like you think about the acting, you think about like how it's going to fit the shot.
Mm.
So that's always like interesting to like work on.
Yeah. And you're a lead at Framestore now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you
So
you've had a few rounds of getting really into the role. Does it come natural to you now, the leadership?
I think there is still a lot of learning
Of
to be
course.
honest. But for me, it has what always has worked is like I'll jump into the thing, and if there's a sword hanging on my head, I'll figure out a way. That's what worked out for me. Like
Mm.
I'll always learn on the process. Like and luckily, I've always been surrounded by good team and people. Like my HODs, my supervisors, my leads have always been so supportive.
Mm.
So when you jump into that role, you know how it works. If let's say I know how they were to me, so I want to be the same way when I'm dealing with my artists. I
Mm.
want to be like same supportive way. So they should not feel like, okay, I cannot show this to her, maybe she'll judge or whatever. So
Mm.
I just want the same kind of relationship with my team, what I had with my leads or supervisor.
Yeah.
And I think that helps both ways to grow you as a lead and for the artist also, like for them to be comfortable so that they can just talk to you.
Mm. Yeah. What I'm hearing is it's like you talked a lot about being trusted at Rythm and Hues in the beginning, and it sounds like you're kind of trying to cultivate that on your team as well, like trusting your
Yeah.
team.
Yeah, because I think the first pass like should always be from the artist. To me, it feels
Mm.
like they should like tell what they are thinking for the shot, and then because there's a possibility they have like some really cool ideas which you might not think of. So that's always works.
Yeah.
And that's why we are in this field, be creative, like to do what we want, like as a potential, like which works for the movie, which works for the shot. So yeah, I think it works both ways. You can't just force something, and in this field you can't. So and I think it's a motivation factor for the artist as well. Like if your lead trusts you, if your supervisor trusts you, you just want to do like it works. It's a healthy relationship. That should be good.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like if you trust, then it kind of, it's like there's you're not gonna run out of it's just gonna cultivate more happiness about the work, and then people are gonna be more excited, and it's just gonna be like an upward spiral in a way.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's I've heard so many supervisors by now saying, I'm not sure if you worked with Aaron Gilman at Weta.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. He was my supervisor at
Alvin.
for Alvin.
Yeah, right.
It was so cool to work with him. He is so nice. He was always so excited in the morning. It was fun to work with.
Yeah, he's one of the most excited supervisors I work with.
Oh wow. And like, how do you get this much energy? Like he will actually come in the mornings, do references for everybody.
I could see that.
And then he'll make the folders, and he's like, okay, just pick this, just see this. Perfect.
Oh, that's so funny.
Oh man, that was just so much fun to work with him.
Yeah, Aaron Gilman, he was he's such a fireworks to work with. So excited. And but I had the opportunity to talk to him on here as well, and he talked a lot about how when you get down to it, it's all about relationships. So how you are with your team, and how he was as a animation director with the client and the people above him and so forth. And it seems like you're talking about the same things about how you address your team as you were addressed by good supervisors, and kind of passing on those qualities. Yeah. Do you have are there other qualities that you look for or try to cultivate on your team, or any specifics?
I think mostly it's I just want, like, if people are struggling with anything, like they should be okay to tell, rather than just because I'll spend probably 1 or 2 hours if I'm struggling with something, but then I'll just poke someone, because it's not worth it. Like, somebody already knows, there's no harm in asking. So that is something I just want, like, people to be comfortable with. Like, there is no point, because it's just knowledge. Like, somebody knows something, so there is no harm. And for me, I think with every show I've learned something new, and it has been really like a good learning experience for me. Because it's hard to sit on your own and find things to do, rather than like when you have a proper motivation to learn, and to figure out, it gets much easier. So I just want, like, people to be okay with not knowing stuff and asking stuff. That is something I always appreciate.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's good to be reminded that we're all on a learning curve.
Exactly.
So we don't get stuck in it. It's tricky because sometimes when you've done it for a while, you have your way of doing it, and then you have to remind yourself that you can still learn, you can still grow.
That's true.
Yeah,
because you can get stuck in your ways, like, if you don't adapt, probably. I know I was stuck in my ways for a very long time. Like, I was too attached to my shots. I will not delete. I will just try to keep changing my curves. By the time I think I learned to, like, just delete everything, just do it. Like, I think it's much easier that way, rather than, like, because you always have this, like, if you keep tweaking what you have, like, you will never get rid of it. That's what I've learned. Like, you have to delete it. If there is a direction change, you have to delete. So there are few things I've learned along the way, and but that just comes with, like, keep doing it. That's all, and seeing how other people are handling it, like, that helps.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Yeah, I like what you said about thinking of knowledge as a common. It's something that you have together, and then you shouldn't contain it. You should be open and share it. Yeah, and I'm also curious because something I've always found a bit tricky is the whole thing of, we call ourselves artists, but we also kind of like these little pieces in a toolbox. So, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know it could get monotonous. Sometimes you just feel like you're doing a desk job, just
Yeah,
finishing up someone
yeah.
else's work.
And you are, but I have ideas. But
That's so true.
yeah, and then when you have a team working and you have to kind of remind them you want to keep their creativity alive, but you also have to tell them sometimes that you have to do something specific. Are you, I guess it's hard to kind of figure it all out for them, but is it just something that you have in the back of your mind that it can be tricky sometimes?
I think, like for me, creatively feedback, I don't override their their stuff a lot of times because I feel like that should come from the supervisors. To be honest, like I don't give unless asked for, I don't give creative inputs. To be
Mm,
honest, because it could create like a drift. Like sometimes when like okay, then they will be like okay, but supervisor is saying this. She asked me to do that. So
mm,
for that reason, sometimes I don't interfere with a lot of creative inputs. But if asked, then I will like with the supervisor and with the artist together. I like to do that. Like
mm,
okay, what do you think? I have this suggestion. What do you think about that? But rather than just talking personally with the create, like I would always encourage them to think about it. Like, and I always tell them the picture of the shot. Like, okay, this is happening. Maybe we could try this. Maybe this might work better because the next shot is this.
mm.
So I just deal with it like that rather than just forcing them to try something. Okay, like no, no, you have to do this. Like I no, I never do that.
Mm, but that
Yeah,
that makes sense though, that you kind of like asking questions that could open up something in them
yeah.
so that it comes from them ultimately as well.
Yeah, because I know I have been like a junior, I've been a mid artist. I know how it goes. Like when your lead tells you something and when your supervisor is telling you something else, it's
Yeah.
totally different. And then you just hate your leads at that time.
Yeah, yeah, you don't want to be that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So I
yeah.
don't want to be that person for sure.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
So, but
But sometimes there are shows like which gives you more creative freedom.
mm,
Like, and it also depends on like your supervisors, like how much involved they want their leads to be. With every show, with every supervisor, it's very different. Like
mm,
what they expect out of the leads or what they expect you to do as a lead to for the team. I think it depends on the every show. It depends on every supervisor.
mm.
So I have had like different type of experience with everybody. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's all about that. Sometimes it feels like a new show is a new job because you
Yeah,
have to figure it all out. Also the rigs and the director is a
of course.
different. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So do you have big plans about supervising or?
Not yet. I think it's good like what's going right now.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's
yeah.
a long way. Yeah.
Hmm.
But maybe but I think looking at my supervisor, I see they do a lot of work. I mean,
Yeah.
and I don't think I'm still ready for that, like for
Mm.
sure. Like right now as a lead, I'm still dealing with the animation part of it. So I'm okay. But I know as a supervisor, you deal with like as an entire movie, you deal with different departments and
Yeah.
like bidding and there is like a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I don't think yeah, that is there yet for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, if you still want to animate yourself, I can imagine it could
It's
be hard to let
yeah.
go of.
Yeah, it's a good balance as a being a lead. Like you still get to be like doing at least one or two shots, so that's kind of good.
Mm.
And then you can choose your shots, so that's kind of nice too.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious if you need to have like hobbies on the side to keep creativity alive, or are you still so in love with animation that it does it all?
For me, I think like I'm not like a personal project person for sure. Like I don't. I think once I'm done with the job timing, like with the work timing, I can't sit in front of a system anymore. Like for me, that doesn't work.
Mm.
And so I try to do like something else, like other than animation. Like I
Yeah.
just do like I like traveling. I do that. Like we take breaks, and I think for me, what works being creatively alive is
Mm.
changing the shows, like the kind of style of animation you do on like each show. Like for example, if you keep doing quadrupeds on every show, at some point it will become monotonous. Like then you don't feel like, like you don't feel excited about it. Like
Yeah.
so, and I think I've been very lucky with Framestore for that reason, because every time I asked for a particular show, they have never said no to me so far. So that worked out pretty well. So I did like Paddington, that was like a bit semi-realistic kind of animation for me, and that was nice. Then I did like Mowgli and his Dark
Mm.
Material, that was more realistic animation, like quadruped. So that was a good change. Like in Mowgli, we had a lot of facial work because of the lip sync and stuff. So that was a very different thing. Then at some point, I think I was so bored with quadrupeds. I asked like my HOD, can I be on this show called Jingle Jangle?
Mm.
It's like a Christmas vibe. But it was more like a cartoony. Like
Oh,
I don't
nice.
know if you heard about the show, but
I don't think
it
so.
was a Christmas movie, and there was like toys. So there were two toys in that
Oh.
movie. So that was pretty interesting. I just told him like I think I need a change, and this is perfect show for me because it's been a while I haven't acted out. It's been a while I haven't done any
Mm.
like acting performance like the biped or with the
Yeah.
like how you start animation, like get up, like, say a dialogue and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that helped me a lot, like just to be excited about something new.
Mm.
So I think changing shows for me has worked so far very well to be
Mm.
creatively alive.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, that's a good learning curve. Like, and that keeps you motivated, that keeps you excited, that wants you to learn more,
Mm.
and that helps for me. For me, that works. And taking a breaks, I think it works too.
Mm.
Like just getting away from like work for a bike while is good too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Or
you appreciate it more when you come back, and then you feel refreshed, and then you're like, okay,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Until someone asks you to talk about work after work on
yeah.
on
Yeah,
yeah.
I also did some like few freelance projects in the middle, like just very small, not 3D, but like more like a 2D and 3D kind of stuff. So
Oh
just something
wow.
simple to keep you like going. That also nice. Like so you're not like really into realistic animation. You're just doing stick figures or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was fun to work on the side. But
Yeah.
I'm not like lot of like freelance. I don't take a lot of freelance works or anything because I just can't sit in the system anymore.
No, no,
Yeah,
I agree. It's it can be a
yeah,
lot. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. And have such respect for people who do it. Like I
yeah,
was like, man, I don't know how you do it, but this is amazing.
yeah, yeah.
Like, yeah.
Mm.
So, but
I,
yeah.
I'm I I just I was curious if I could what your team members are they do you work a lot with juniors or does it vary? Um,
It does vary. Like when you get a team, you have like they tell you in the starting, like you have these people, like their supervisor tells you, okay, this is your team, and they are mid, junior, and senior. So you get all sort of people,
mm,
and so you know exactly how to plan your time. Like
yeah,
you know, okay, who you are going to be spending more time with, or
of
how
course.
you like, yeah, because you don't want to like I know with juniors you just have to spend a little bit more time so that
Mm,
like they are going in the right direction, and they just need some guidance. I think that's all. But sometimes they can surprise you. Like I've seen some juniors that do like amazing work, and you just don't have to say anything. Like that's
yeah.
perfect. I'm so happy to have you in my team.
Yeah, yeah. It must be so rewarding for you as well to pass your experience from Rhythm and Hues on in a way as well.
Yeah, and I think you're giving feedback, you see a lot of things yourself as well. Because most of the times, like when you're doing your own shot, you don't see those things. But when you're seeing somebody else's shot and you know exactly what is not working, and it's kind of nice, like because you could pinpoint things and you feel, okay, yeah, but I did not see that same thing in my shot. So it's just, I think, change of eye, like in a shot, like because when you are animating, you're watching your shot again and again and again. And but when you just sidetrack and watch somebody else's work, and then you realize, okay, if I'm telling him this to do, maybe I think I need to implement it my shot as well.
Yeah.
So that works both ways as well. Like and giving feedback in that way is good. I think it's nice. Like you could see details and stuff.
And it also, it, like you said, it also reminds you that you're both, like, you may be a lead and this is the artist that you're leading, but you're both animators who are learning the craft always, right? You're still evolving.
Yeah.
It's good to be
there has been times I've asked my juniors, or I asked my like team in the, like, how did you do this? I want to know, like, how did you retrieve this kind of thing? I would be happy to learn it too.
Yeah, it's fun. I don't know if you know her, Marion Strunk. She's an animator in the, well, she's in London now. She was she used to be at Framestore. That's why I thought maybe you knew each other. But she talked about leading and having her team members. Sometimes she would ask them for feedback on her shot, just to remind everyone that we're all doing it together.
Yeah.
And it's a cool thing to, you know, not that everyone has to do that, but it's just like a cool way of sharing the experience of being an animator, because you never stop learning, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's a very good habit. Like now, since you're working from home, it's become very less and less, because we don't have like group dailies anymore. It's always one-on-one. But like earlier, when we used to have group dailies, like in the studios and like in a big dailies room, like sometimes our supervisor will just play someone else's shot and he'll ask the entire team, what do you guys think? And everybody has something or the other to add on. So that's kind of a healthy way of going into things, like rather than just, and nobody is taking it as an offending way, right? Like, okay, oh, this is Junior, but why is he talking about my shot like that? So I think those kind of things are good. Like that's what creates a healthy work environment.
Yeah. It's good to share the whole thing. It's kind of like what you said about sharing knowledge. You should also, it's our work together. And of course you have your babies and you've done all this work, but you shouldn't be that protective, because like you said, maybe they'll just cut it or put a big explosion in front of it anyway. So we never
you never know. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it has happened so many times. I'm like, now I don't
yeah.
think about it.
What the worst case was that on Life of Pi?
It was because our team spent like literally 3 months. Just we were getting notes on like very, because it was a close up of the toes.
Yeah.
And we were getting notes on every single frame for just the toes, like doing that. And it was a very good sequence. And look, oh man.
Oh, they cut it.
Yeah, that was hard. Yeah, that was hard. And we didn't even know about it. That was like a surprise when we went. Nowadays, like at least they tell us in advance, like, okay, this sequence is over. So you're mentally prepared. Okay, fine.
Yeah, you saw it. That was in the cinema. Was the first, was when you found out?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. God.
Like I know exactly when that moment was supposed to come. And I went with my like entire team, and we have been watching. Hey, oh, now the sequence is gonna come, and it never came.
Oh, that's horrible.
It was really bad.
Oh, that's that's like well, you know, like you like growing up the hard way, almost.
Yeah, and I think that makes you less and less attached to your work at some point. Then you know, okay, yeah, I'll do my job, but I think it's just animation. I just need to think it's just animation.
Yeah. No, I've heard people say that. People that I admire say that the more detached, the more distance you can have while still enjoying what you're doing, the better. So that
Yeah.
you shouldn't bring too much home.
Yeah, but now it is at home, so yeah, we can't do
Yeah,
much
that's
about
a
it.
good point.
Thank
Uh,
you.
well, Shuchi, I'm not gonna take up
Yeah.
all your evening. Um,
Uh,
but thank you so much for sharing your story and your lessons. This was
of course.
amazing. Thank you so much.
It was so nice to talk to you too.
Thank
It was
you.
my pleasure.